RFK is a short-termer. He serves at the mercy of Trump, and I think he's beginning to hit the point where he's going to be an embarrassment and a liability. The minute that happens, RFK is out the door.
How does he embarrass Trump?
Because basically when he says, kids shouldn't be vaccinated, when he says basically wait, let me finish. You asked, let me finish. When he doesn't respond actively to a measles outbreak, when he appoints quacks to top positions, when you have people like Paul Offit going on television, it accumulates after a while. And you can't destroy the CDC and destroy that. You can do it short term, but long term, you're going to pay a price. All right, and now for our listeners' questions, which really are challenging and wonderful. Jeff in St. Pete Beach, Florida, James, says, is Trump out pivoting Democrats on crime?
Well, thank you from our friend from St. Pete. Probably right now, he kind of is. And the Democratic response has to be the two things that are overwhelmingly popular that you can do that have been done before that actually work. And that is, one, ban assault weapons. Because there's no reason you can't do that. You're going to win the presidency in 2028. And it's a pretty good chance that you control both the House and the Senate. Well, when you get it, do a 75% issue right off the bat. The next one is do what we did in 94. Make provisions to hire another 100, 150, 200,000 cops. And the federal government supports cities or counties or parishes of whatever jurisdiction you have to put more boots on the ground. You can do these two things. And he's not doing either one. But you have strength in your message, and you have to use it.
Well, do that, and for God's sakes, don't keep talking about, the issue is crime is going down. That's not what you want to talk about, because people who get assaulted or have carjacked don't worry about data. David in Lawrence, Kansas, the home of the great University of Kansas Jayhawks, says, has RFK.Jr. gone after tobacco companies? Seems an obvious target. No, he has not. Barely one mention. He hasn't, because they're a powerful interest that Trump cares about and Republicans care about. So he hasn't. I'm going to make a prediction, which I didn't believe until the last week or two. RFK is a short-termer. He serves at the mercy of Trump, and I think he's beginning to hit the point where he's going to be an embarrassment and a liability. The minute that happens, RFK is out the door.
How does he embarrass Trump?
Because basically when he says, kids shouldn't be vaccinated, when he says basically we're not going to wait, let me finish. You asked, let me finish. When he doesn't respond actively to a measles outbreak, when he appoints quacks to top positions, when you have people like Paul Offit going on television, it accumulates after a while. And you can't destroy the CDC and destroy that. You can do it short term, but long term, you're going to pay a price.
Well, I saw all the former CDC directors wrote the piece. I guess it was in the Times. And everything you say is true. I don't know if any of that bothers Trump, or he doesn't agree with 85% of it, or think that his people agree with it. I don't. Look, I think the guy's an embarrassment. I think he's dismantling public health like we've never seen before. I think he's going to cost, I don't know, hundreds, I don't know how many lives, but it's going to be a lot here and around the world. But I'm not sure any of this embarrasses Trump. That's my only point.
Well,
it should.
It doesn't until, you can show that it's happening. But I guess my point is Trump has no loyalty to RFK or anyone else for that matter. So, if he shows signs of becoming a liability, he'll be out the door that day. Jim in Houston, Texas says, what's the best way to get the attention of the Democratic Party with an idea or suggestion for the average citizen, James?
Well, that's such a good question. I wish we would have gotten a little bit deeper there, but Ron Brownstein said something that I profoundly agree with. I mean, like 100% agree with. And this is the frustrating thing. the Democratic Party is not going to be able to have a leader until we have a presidential nominee. And in the expectation that we can come up with that, and there's some way that we could do that, it is just not attainable. I do think that in 2026 we're going to have a successful year, and Trump came to say he wanted the job to do certain things, and he's done none of them. And all the things he's done has not made the country stronger. It's made the country weaker. It's increased our debt. We've run off our allies. We've run off everything. And now we're running off people on Medicare. I think we got a strong inherent message there, but I don't think we're going to be able to come up with something unified until the 2028 primaries.
Yeah. Arthur in Covington, Kentucky says, with Trump's cuts to Medicare, forcing hospitals, particularly Medicaid, this is actually forcing hospitals to close, and many people in rural communities having to travel for hours to get seen by a doctor, is Trump just so stupid he doesn't realize the impact of cutting these programs? No. What they're going to do, they're going to lie about it. They've already changed the name of the big, beautiful bill. Now it's the Working Family Bill. That's just as much of a misnomer. Rural hospitals are starting to close, and the Medicaid cuts haven't really taken effect yet. And it's going to be a liability. Is it going to be a big liability? Probably not. But if it changes a couple percentage points in some of those rural areas, in some of those key states, like North Carolina, Michigan, then it's going to make a difference, because it is going to happen.
Well, the other thing you got to combine it with are the tax cuts for rich people.
Right.
All right. Because you knew who these people were, because every time they get into power, they try to cut taxes on rich people and at the same time cut health care access to middle class people. They've done what you thought they were going to do.
Right.
They can call that bill anything they want. It was the most negatively viewed piece of major legislation, I'm sure, in this century, domestic legislation. And it's got nothing but, it's not doing anything but getting worse. These guys cannot go anywhere in the district. They don't even can't have town halls. Dan Sullivan is all over Alaska hiding from as many people as he can hide from. And they're dying not to have to go confront anybody, and they're just not going to get away with it in the election.
Well, and they said that they would, over the August recess, they could sell this thing. Well, it was so bad, not only did they run from their constituents, they now decided they're going to rename it. And that would suggest that maybe the August experience wasn't a very good one for them, James.
I think it was a disaster. And I think these guys are going back and said, oh, shit. And then I love that the congressional Republican leadership sends a memo and says, you should talk about it here, but don't do it. We don't recommend that you go to any town halls to sell it.
Don't talk to voters. Go on Fox News and everything. Oh,
and I think that their talking points are pretty ineffective.
James, I have a really challenging one for you. Alexandra in France, a former Oregonian, says, would Vance be worse than Trump?
God, it's probably, because he's smarter and he's younger. What do you say, Albert? I say he would. I say his youth and his IQ would make him even worse than Trump.
I think conventionally I would agree. But, as much as I think Trump is a danger, he has an ability to appeal to certain type of voters, to get demagogue and effective. Well, I'm not sure Vance has that same talent. He is smarter. He is, but, Vance may do slightly better in a suburb than Trump would do, but I'm not sure he would do as well in a working class community as Trump does.
Maybe. I mean, I think there's some weakness he doesn't have. Trump's, kind of bravado. I don't know what
animal instinct.
Animal instincts.
Right.
But I think that Russell Voigt, I've always thought this the most dangerous person in the United States government. And I think Vance would keep him. And I think the two of them, if this just assume that he could get into office, which I don't.
Russell Voigt. Yeah.
I think that's
deadly. James David in Zellwood, Florida. You may know where Zellwood, Florida is. I don't, but we'll find.
To be honest with you, I'll look it up.
We'll find out. He says, can you break down Trump's argument for the so-called big, beautiful bill and lay out the counter argument? The argument for it is simply to lie. Say it's for working class people, you get tax cuts with tips and all that stuff. The argument against it is quite simple. They've gone and they're giving a huge tax cut to the rich, and they're taking health care away from working class Americans.
Yeah, yes, in your explanation. And remember, there's nothing in politics that works better than to confirm a pre-existing suspicion.
Right.
You knew what they were going to do. They did exactly what they do every time. All right. This is the effect of it. And the public is on your side. I mean, we won this war before the first shot was fired because people know that that's their instinct to do whenever they get into power. They always do that.
Yeah, it sure is. John in Chicago, James, asked you, I mean, this is, you talk about one right down the middle of the plate for you, Mr. Carville. John says, does political party loyalty taint the conservative judges on the Supreme Court, or are they strict enforcers of Article 2 of the Constitution?
Let me explain this to you. If you want to know what the Supreme Court is going to do, think of what the executive committee of the Republican Party of Northern Alabama would do. All right? This is a...
I knew this would be a tough one for you.
I know. They're just people don't read the law. They don't ask for statutory history or, anything else. They say what result is the best for the Republican Party, and then that's how we're going to vote. And I don't. And you know what? What's really interesting is they don't even assign reasons anymore.
That's true.
And so a lot of law court judges don't know how to interpret, what exactly to do, because they're so arrogant, they're so nakedly political, they're such an adjunct and they're completely part of the Republican Party. They get a question and they said, okay, does this hurt Republicans? It helps. Okay, great. It hurts. We'll turn it over, and that's it. And what do you have to tell you? They got now to the point where they have to even assign reasons.
Yeah.
Usually people will tell you why, but they don't.
Yeah.
Feel good.
Absolutely.